You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid of being rejected, of the glance that dismisses you, of the silence that erases you, of the laughter that belittles you. You're terrified of showing who you really are and watching people walk away. Because deep down, you carry the belief that if someone sees your truth, they'll think it's not enough. They'll think you're weak. They'll turn their back. So you adjust. You shrink. You fake it. You wear the right clothes, say the right words, smile at the right moments. You do everything to seem like a good person. But the truth is, your so-called kindness is rooted in fear. The fear of not being loved. You're not like this because you're enlightened. You're like this because you're terrified of rejection. Since you were a kid, they taught you to smile even when you didn't want to apologize even when you weren't guilty, to lower your head even when your soul screamed for justice. They taught you that being good meant being calm, polite, well-behaved. That being good meant never making waves, never raising your voice, never showing anger. But no one ever asked what that cost you. No one ever cared what you had to swallow just to be accepted. And now, when you look in the mirror, you think you're a good person. But the truth is, you've just gotten better at hiding. Because deep inside, where you don't let anyone in, there's a voice whispering, "I'm not what I pretend to be." You avoid confrontation not because you're evolved, but because you're terrified of disappointing people. You're kind, not because you're compassionate, but because you're desperate to be liked. Every favor you offer, every yes you give, every silence you swallow, it's all just another way to maintain your disguise. And the more time passes, the farther you drift from yourself. Because in the real world, no one can be good all the time. And when you try, what's left is a heart full of resentment, exhaustion, frustration, and shame for not being able to keep up the act. You say, "I don't hold grudges," but inside, you carry a secret list of betrayals you replay over and over. You say, "I'm always there for everyone." But when no one thanks you, you crumble, because your worth is tied to their approval. You say, "I'm a good person," but you bury your real desires, your forbidden thoughts, your impulses, the ones that don't fit the image you're trying to sell. And that division inside you is what's quietly killing you. Because the more you pretend to be something you're not, the further you drift from your real self. Until one day, you don't even know what you truly feel, or what you truly want, or who you even are. You think you're a good person. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why? Is it love, or is it fear? Fear of being rejected, forgotten, canceled. Fear of being called selfish, ungrateful, rude. Fear of looking inside and seeing parts of yourself you despise. Parts you hide. Parts you try to bury under the mask of goodness. But they're still alive. And the more you suppress them, the louder they become. That's where your anxiety comes from. Your inner emptiness. That's why you feel like you're drowning even when everything looks fine. Because no one can live fully while denying half of themselves. Maybe you were a child who learned to please in order to survive. A kid who realized early that love had a price. Perfection. No tantrums, no anger, no problems. You grew up confusing love with acceptance. And now you carry that broken compass into every relationship, into every room, into every interaction. Even when it hurts, even when it suffocates, even when it slowly kills you inside. But here's the truth. This isn't kindness. It's submission. It's fear, disguised as virtue. Being a truly good person is something else entirely. It's not about never feeling anger. It's about knowing when your anger deserves a voice. It's not about sacrificing yourself for others. It's about standing your ground even when it's uncomfortable. It's not about pleasing everyone. It's about being honest, even when it costs you relationships. Above all, being good means having the courage to face the parts of yourself you keep trying to hide. But do you have that kind of courage? Or are you going to spend your whole life pleasing everyone, except yourself? Because at the root of it all, the fear, the fake kindness, the self-erasure, there's only one thing: rejection. That invisible monster you've been running from your entire life. You were rejected once. Maybe when you were just a kid, trying to show your heart, and someone laughed, walked away, or said, "That's not you." And from that moment on, you learned to edit yourself, to measure every word, to bury every part of you that might seem too much. And that's how you became domesticated. Someone who never speaks too loudly, who always apologizes first, who would rather lose the argument than lose the person. Someone who slowly, methodically, disappears. Rejection isn't just emotional, it's physical. Your brain processes it the same way it processes physical pain. That's why, even years later, you still remember the sting of being left out, replaced, forgotten. That's why you spend your life trying to make sure it never happens again. You mold yourself, adapt, hide, become exactly what people want, and call it maturity. But deep down, it's just fear. Fear of not being loved. Fear that if you show your true face, no one will stay. And so you become the one who's always available, who says yes to everything, who feels guilty for putting yourself first, who smiles when you want to scream, who pretends to agree when your whole body is begging for confrontation. Everyone thinks you're amazing. Everyone says you're rare, special, good. But no one really knows you, because you don't let them. You only show what's safe, what's acceptable. And that's the paradox. The harder you try to be loved, the less loved you feel. Because deep down, you know they're loving a mask, not you. You don't overcome rejection by pretending you don't care, or by being too good to reject. Because the more you run from it, the more it owns you. You become someone who can't say no, who stays in relationships where you're invisible, who accepts crumbs because you're terrified of ending up alone. But solitude isn't the worst fate. No, the real hell is being surrounded by people and still feeling completely unseen. The real hell is being in a relationship where you can't even breathe as yourself, where every word, every step, every look is measured to avoid upsetting someone else. So let me ask you, do you want to be loved? Or do you just want to be tolerated? Do you want real connection? Or do you just want to avoid abandonment? Would you rather be authentic and risk being left, or live a comfortable lie? Rejection hurts, but building your entire life to avoid it kills you slowly. You want to know who you really are? Look at what you're most afraid to show. That's where your truth lives. And your real life can only begin from there. Living to avoid rejection means accepting that you'll never be whole, that you'll always be a hostage, that you'll always sacrifice pieces of yourself just to be accepted halfway. The question isn't, how can I get everyone to like me? The real question is, why do I need that so badly? What's missing inside you that you're trying to fill with approval? What did you abandon when you decided that being loved was more important than being true? Maybe what you call goodness is just fear, hiding under a pretty mask. So let's go all the way. No filters, no breaks, no numbing it down. Because the pain you're feeling, the emptiness that no amount of praise or attention can fix, won't go away until you stop betraying yourself. Until you stop trading your soul for acceptance. Until you stop mistaking being good for being harmless. You don't need to be a good person. You need to be a whole person. With light and shadow. With love and rage. With tenderness and fire. With compassion and boundaries. You need to stop trying to be loved by everyone. Because being loved by everyone means being truly known by no one. Every yes you say when you meant no. Every silence you swallow to keep the peace. Every time you smile while bleeding inside. You lose another piece of yourself. That's why you're so tired. That's why you feel so empty. That's why you can't breathe. You're not unhappy because people don't recognize you. You're unhappy because you abandoned yourself. And if you don't wake up, you'll spend your life shrinking your soul to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You need to choose to be loved for who you're not, or rejected for who you are, and still stand tall, still whole, still true. Real strength isn't in being accepted. It's in being real, even if it means standing alone. It's in facing rejection, not as defeat, but as proof that you had the courage to show up as yourself. And if that terrifies you, then maybe you're still trapped, still clinging to the fantasy that if you're perfect enough, no one will leave. But people leave. They always do. Even if you do everything right, even if you sacrifice everything you are. And when they leave, what will be left of you? Will you even recognize the person in the mirror? Or just see a fragile construction, a collage of everyone else's expectations, but not your own soul? The world doesn't need more nice people. It needs real ones. People who feel, who stand up, who set boundaries, who love not out of fear, but out of freedom. You weren't born to please. You were born to live, to feel, to express yourself fully. And if that means losing some people along the way, so be it. Better to lose them than to lose yourself. Now breathe deep and answer brutally honestly. Are you going to keep betraying yourself for acceptance? Keep wearing the good person mask while screaming inside? Keep trading your soul for scraps of love? Or are you finally going to break the cycle? Are you going to have the courage to be yourself? With all your imperfections, with all your truths. The choice is yours. It always has been. But remember, as long as you're pretending to be good, just to avoid rejection, you'll never be free. And if you're not free, you're not living. You're just obeying, smiling on the outside, terrified on the inside. Now tell me, are you going to keep lying to yourself? Or are you finally ready to set yourself free? Mental rebellion. This isn't motivation, it's war.